Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag and follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. We don't want you. We don't want your money. We don't want your custom. Take your custom elsewhere. That's what Ann Sarnoff and Warner Media said to us, the DC Snyderverse, Restore the Snyderverse community. We want a diverse, calm, sheepish type of fan base. We want minorities. We want women. That's what we want. But we don't want you because you beat us, because you're leading the narrative, because we want to be in charge and not you, the public. That's what she said. Now listen, this channel is always going to be predominantly a DC channel. The dceu Daily will always be a place, a safe space for all DC fans. There's no question. And if my reaction to what Sarnoff said has made you feel that I'm only supporting the Snyderverse and I don't support your voice, I apologise. It's been a very polarising couple of days, a devastating couple of days, and we'll be talking about some Shazam casting. Very exciting. So, you know, I'm a supporter of Shazam. I'm a supporter of the central DC universe. And while I'm at it, let me say this as well. Even though you'll notice on Twitter, I do retweet some tweets about boycotting the central universe of the DCEU. That's because I want to represent everyone's voices. It's not because I agree with a boycott. Let's be absolutely clear. And I would never tell you to boycott or not boycott something. That is your individual choice. I will not be boycotting Shazam, Black Adam, the Flashpoint movie. These are things, the Batman, these are things I'm really, really looking forward to. But I don't want them to be put in place of the Snyderverse. I want them there as well as the Snyderverse. Now, this thing where they seem to not want certain people to be their fans, this is a situation we had in the later seasons of Smallville and the CW. This is a place for young women. And I always gave the analogy of it's like going into a shop and I want to buy a cola and them saying to me, we don't want you to buy a cola because you're not a minority, you're not a woman, right? That person would go bankrupt, wouldn't they? So what do you think is going to happen ultimately to the entertainment industry? And so as we continue on this subject of this PR disaster for Warner Media and Ann Sarnoff, I can tell you the city is reacting really badly to that Variety interview, and AT&T haven't reacted too well to it either. But the fact of the matter is they are not going to green light the restoration of the Snyderverse at this moment in time. There will not be a green lighting of Justice League 2, and there will not be a green lighting of the Air Cut. I'm not telling you because this makes me happy or that I want to tell you this. It's because these are the facts of the situation. And it's very, very sad. Now we're going to talk about Sean O'Connell very shortly. Now, I don't know if Sean O'Connell said it in his book that I did pre-order, which I will be pre-ordering. I will be cancelling after reading this. I don't know where Sean O'Connell said this, but this is what he's had to say. Personally, I think it's time for everyone in this story to move on. The most ardent Zack Snyder fans are going to have a hard time accepting that, and I understand, but the current creators responsible for the DC Universe have made it clear they don't see the value in Snyder's interpretation. Yes, Sean, they don't see the value of making money. We all know there's a market for this, right? We all know that Snyder's movies are the three of the best DC live-action entries into any DC Universe franchise ever. We look at Nolan's trilogy, perfection. We look at Snyder's trilogy. Yes, it's a trilogy now so far because nothing else is going to happen at this moment in time, as perfection. We look at Superman the movie. I see that movie as perfection as well. Smallville. I love Smallville as well. So Snyder was able to make 3 films with artistic integrity, beautiful looking films with great compelling narratives. And what's happened with Zack Snyder's Justice League is so many of the mainstream audience and the mainstream critics have loved this movie. How many times have I retweeted, and if you're following me on Twitter at Movies TV Mag, you'll see that blue ticks verified account saying, I can't believe this, but I love Justice League and I want to see more. I want to see more, right? And Warner Media and Sarnoff are saying no to those people as well. It's not just us in the community. It doesn't matter if you don't like your customer. I used to work behind a deli counter. I used to fucking deplore my customers. I hated them. I used to work 8 to 8. Sometimes they'd forget to give me breaks. And I used to row with my customers. Ham off the bone, please. Ooh, that's not very lean. What are you going to do? Frame it or eat it? And then by the time I finish my day, I'll be screaming at customers, yes, please. Because I hadn't had my cigarette and my cup of tea and my lunch because my employers were bastards, right? So we've all had times where we've hated our customers. And I was wrong to show that behind the deli counter at the cooperative supermarket in old Bromley in the United Kingdom a very long time ago. But it happens and I understand. But you can't hurt your bottom line, Anne and Warner Media, and that's what you're doing. This is a ridiculous situation. They're saying they don't want us as customers. And I've never seen, it's kind of suicide, business suicide, isn't it? But what do I think about Sean's comments here? Well, Sean is a member, like it or not, of Access Media. I was very surprised that he became very supportive of the Snyder Cut community, the Release the Snyder Cut movement. I was surprised, and I did pre-warn you many, many months ago, over a year ago, about Sean's intentions. It's clear this was a money-making, business-making thing because Cinema Blend wasn't doing very well. Cinema Blend isn't one of the biggest sites, isn't one of the biggest members of Access Media. There's no question about it. It's a little independent, which I think Sean came up with himself. He came up with a plan and it worked. And by the way, he helped us. There's no question about that. But now Sean and the rest of Access Media are going to have to ask themselves a question. Do I support this movement and kill my access, or do I keep my access and betray the movement? So Sean's decided I've got to betray. I've used them now. I've made money from the book. I've got my pre-orders. People are buying it. It's not clever what he's done here because it's a bit early to turn on us now, Sean, because people like me are not going to buy your book. I was gladly going to support you. Now you claim a little percentage will go to suicide prevention charities or charity, right? And that's great, but still, I can donate that money personally to other kind of events within the movement, or I can personally just donate my money and my cash, and I have plenty of it, to suicide prevention myself, so I don't need to buy this book. I can't support a person who's been pretending to support Zack Snyder, even interviewing him and looking him in the eye, then saying, well, the company don't want this, let's just move on. No, we're not going to move on, Sean. This is what you've got to understand. No one is going to move on from this. This is a fight. Basically, as I said the other day, in the last DCEU edition, in the title, the fans have gained the upper hand again. We haven't acted toxically. We have reacted like a unified movement who knows what we have to do. Zack Snyder pretty much telling us to keep watching his movie on HBO Max, and I was wrong to tell people to boycott. Again, that was a reaction. So I believe that Sean O'Connell is a bit of a turncoat, but I understand he has a business to run, and I understand he's probably saying something. I mean, with people like Sean, you never know when they're saying something they mean and when they're being genuine. And that's the problem about it. So I'm not going to support Sean anymore. I'm not going to buy his book. I'm going to unfollow him as soon as I get the chance as well, because things like that are very frustrating and they get me angry. And I don't want a dialogue or an angry dialogue or a toxic dialogue with Sean or anything like that. He's more than entitled to tell people to give up. But we're not going to give up because we know Anne Sarnoff isn't the head honcho at Warner Media. Because above her is Jason Kilar, above her is John Stankey, and above him and all else, of course, is AT&T. And we know that AT&T have this proud kind of mantra since AT&T started many, many, many years ago of customer service. It was them that greenlit the Snyder Cut. Now, without that event in 2019, without the COVID pandemic, and we must be honest about this, without the pandemic, we would never have got this film. Of course, our voices being so loud helped. Zack Snyder's tactical awareness helped. But without that pandemic, I don't think it would have happened, although they were talking to him back in 2019. So maybe I'm wrong about that, because that was before the pandemic. So after that event that took place in 2019, they got Toby Emmerich to give him a call. Yeah, Toby Emmerich didn't do that off his own back. So anyway, this is the reality of the situation. We've just come off an amazing film. I finished rewatching it in parts for the second time. So I've had my second round. I would have hoped to have watched it a lot more times. But this is a 4-hour freaking Goliath of a movie. And I do plan to watch it again for a third time. But there's no way I can watch it in one go. I just don't have the time. Listen, if this is the climax of the Snyderverse, it's still... Look, it's left up in the air, and Zack did this on purpose to help the fight of the restoration of the Snyder Cut, and I understand that. But if we do leave it at that, at least we have got this amazing trilogy where we see Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and then Batman, Superman, and the rest of the heroes unite together in this brilliant mammoth of a franchise and a trilogy. And I said this on my TikTok account this morning. It's going to be a very funny situation now, because before it was Snyder, now it's Snyder from mainstream critics, access media, and fans. So what's going to happen when they watch other DC movies? They're going to say, yeah, but Snyder did that, and I prefer that. And in fact, it may not just be about DC movies. Going forward, this could be about Marvel movies as well. And we all know now that the inevitable has happened with Marvel, and Black Widow will finally premiere on Disney Plus Premier Access. Yes, the little con artist, unlike Warner Media's HBO Max, will charge you extra on top of your subscription to see that film, or you can go to movie theatres. Basically, they're breaking the release window. It's all right when they do it, but it's not all right when HBO Max do it. Really, really funny. Is Christopher Nolan going to have a big speech about that and hate on Kevin Feige and the big bot boys over at Disney? Of course not. But never mind. What am I talking about Marvel for anyway? I just thought I'd make that point. So we do have a fight on our hands. This is not going to happen anytime soon. Now, we must remember that Zack Snyder's 55 years old, so we've got to make sure we win this fight while he can still stand up and say, action! But I'm all in this fight. I love the man's movies. It's the best DC material ever made, and I think everyone's seeing that now. His Justice League movie is beyond perfection. It looks beautiful. It feels beautiful. It hits your heart. It makes you smile. The epicness of the action. We could sit here all day talking about that movie. So basically, my message to you is restore the Snyderverse without being toxic, without shitting on the other DC properties, because that's what they want us to do. They want us to be toxic. They want us to be negative. We don't have to do that. We can fight by putting up GIFs up there of the great work that Zack's done for these movies and hashtagging restore the Snyderverse. There's so many positive things we can do, and I know shortly there's going to be another event. Very, very exciting. I will definitely be part of that, and I will definitely be reporting on that on this channel. Restore the Snyderverse. And I woke up to see some really exciting news. Helen Mirren has been cast in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And I am a DC fan, and this stuff does excite me. Shazam 2 cast Helen Mirren as DCEU villain Hespera. Shazam! Fury of the Gods cast Helen Mirren, who will play one of the sequel's main villains, Hespera, the daughter of the Greek god Atlas, by Cooper Hood of Screen Rant. Helen Mirren joins the cast of Shazam! Fury of the Gods to play a new DC Extended Universe villain. The original Shazam hit theatres in 2019 to overwhelmingly positive reviews, with Zachary Levi's fun-loving superhero in the lead. The film was a decent box office success thanks to its moderate budget. Warner Brothers and DC Films immediately began working on Shazam 2, with director David F. Sandberg returning to the franchise. The development on Shazam! Fury of the Gods has taken longer than expected since the franchise includes a young cast that will look noticeably older. Levi is returning to star as the superhero half of Shazam character, while Asher Angel will continue playing the normal teenage persona of Billy Batson. Shazam 2 is set to feature much more of the Shazam family, Batson's adopted family, who assembled with powers at the end of the first film. The movie won't be out in theatres until 2023 at the moment, but the studio's already working on adding to the ensemble. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Helen Mirren has now joined Shazam! Fury of the Gods cast. She's set to play one of the villains of the sequel. Her character has been identified as Hespera, the daughter of the god Atlas in Greek mythology. This is the latest franchise Mirren has joined in recent years. She also became a part of Fast and the Furious franchise in 2017. And when you see someone like Mirren joining all these franchises, it shows you kind of the acting kind of parts are very few and far between in Hollywood. So the woman wants to work, so she's got to take up franchises, hasn't she? The addition of Mirren as Hespera could shine more light on other cast members and film's plot overall. The Hollywood Reporter's report notes that Mirren's Hespera could be the sinister sister of Rachel Ziegler's unknown character. This would line up with previous reports that Shazam 2 will include 3 sisters as the villains. Mirren would fill the role of the older sister and Ziegler would be the youngest, which would mean one more sister needs to be cast for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I tell you what, we could have Dame Judi Dench as the granny or something. Wouldn't that be fun, wouldn't it? Fans have wondered what godly fury Shazam could face in the sequel, and the reveal of Hespera playing a role indicates that Shazam 2 will explore Greek mythology. Hespera was one of the Hesperides of Atlantides, who are described as nymphs of the West. Hespera is one of the original 3 sisters, along with Argyle, and Eriphys. The connection to Greek mythology could allow the movie to be tied to the Wonder Woman franchise, which established Olympian gods like Zeus and Ares. Hespera's father, Atlas, has not been established in the DCEU mythology, so that will be a new ground for the sequel to cover. If Hespera and her sisters are involved with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, there is no telling what other Greek gods could appear. So, it's a great piece of casting. I've got lots of time for Helen Mirren. She's a great artist, very, very talented. She's been she started off in UK drama, which I've watched, and so I have a lot of respect for her. It's great casting. It's exciting casting. Now, we must remember that Shazam! Fury of the Gods will not be released until 2023. Now, I've said this before, Flashpoint will change a lot of things. It would probably be unlikely that anything with Shazam will change. And when, of course, we still don't know what's happening with Cavill's Superman, if there's anything happening with Cavill's Superman. If I was someone betting on something right now, that the whole report of a few years back of him kind of cameoing in different films, I think that's what's going to be the thing. And him not getting his own film anytime soon. I think that's what we could see here. Wouldn't surprise me if he's in Shazam and also in Black Adam as well, because they're part of the same universe, don't forget. Probably Shazam won't be affected too much from Flashpoint. Listen to me. The whole idea of Flashpoint is to make Joss Whedon's cut of Justice League, as despicable as it sounds, canon, and also burn down the Snyderverse's connection to the DCEU. That's what the plan is. They're going to kill off Batfleck. That's how I see it. I don't want that to happen. These people are so small-minded, and this is what they're going to do, and there's nothing we can do about it apart from keep fighting. But it won't change their plan. So that's what's going to happen. So it'll be very interesting what they burn from the Snyderverse and what they keep. We know that Momoa's Aquaman and Gadot's Wonder Woman will stay. I think Batfleck will be killed off, but let's see what happens. Now, the rumour was the plan that was Keaton's Batman was going to replace Affleck. Here's the issue right now. Keaton's saying he wants to make sure that he's safe from COVID, that he likes the script, that he might be too busy. He's saying a lot of things. And as I said on Twitter yesterday and today, isn't it very interesting and suspicious and coincidental that since Ann Sarnoff's hit piece with Variety, Keaton's been coming out, putting doubts over his role in Flashpoint. Could it be that Michael Keaton is Team Zack Snyder? I suspect so, and that's very interesting to me. Zack Snyder is very interested in seeing Ben Affleck's Batman in the Flash movie, and this is going to be interesting. You know what's interesting about it, really, is how brilliantly Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut sets up the relationship between Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne, and Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, the Flash. Justice League director Zack Snyder discusses how he feels about watching Ben Affleck return as Batman in Ezra Miller's upcoming film, The Flash. For me, it's very exciting to see this, by the way. Zack Snyder has indicated he's looking forward to watching Ben Affleck reprise his role as Batman in the upcoming DC film, The Flash. Snyder is fresh off the global release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, the most recent film to feature Affleck as the iconic Caped Crusader. The Flash, which is eyeing a November 4th, 2022 release date, could be the last time Affleck dons the cape and cowl in a DC film. Unless we win this fight, I think this is true. I think they're going to, I'll repeat, I think they're going to kill him off. That's my prediction. The Flash will be helmed by IT director Andy Muschietti, and we'll see Affleck join a cast which includes Ezra Miller returning as Barry Allen and Kiersey Clemons as Iris West. The key role of Barry's mother, Nora Allen, will be filled by actress Maribel Verdú, which I think is great casting, by the way. And there has been no word yet on who will now play Allen family patriarch Henry Allen, as Billy Crudup had to depart the role due to scheduling conflicts. The film will also introduce Supergirl, with Sasha Calle bringing Kara Zor-El to the big screen, which I'm really excited about as well, by the way. That hasn't changed for me. I'm just very heartbroken about that Ann Sarnoff interview. I thought it was rude. I thought it was toxic. And really, and you know, let me just say this about the Ann Sarnoff interview. There could have been a line where she said, "We have no plans to restore the Snyderverse right now, but let's see what the future holds." Do you understand? There's no diplomacy in her words. If she was diplomatic, we would have all been calm, enjoying the film that we just fought years to get, and it would have been amazing. Because they're so angry and bitter that we won. You know, it could have been so much more friendlier, and that's a shame, man. Because I really believed in you and what you were trying to do. I still believe in your plan, by the way, but what you've done here is wrong on so many levels. Speaking to MTV News, Snyder explained his perspective, indicating how much he likes the idea of a butterfly effect time travel Flash story and touching on the impact the cinematic universe he built might have on future DC films. And he likes that Affleck is reprising his Batman role. Check out the quote below. I guess from my point of view, I think that's cool. I mean, I don't know what else to say except, yeah, that's an amazing idea too, you know, but the butterfly on a will concept of time getting distorted is cool. And I'd be interested to see what that means. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways, what we've done is kind of undeniable now. As far as the stamp it's put on the DC world. So, yeah. So that's Snyder really saying, you know, what I've done cannot be forgotten. And he keeps basically saying, what can I say? You know, I'd probably like to be negative about what they're doing, but I can't. I want to be positive. I want to be the relaxed Zack Snyder that I am, because I believe I'm going to win this fight, and me and my fans are going to restore the Snyderverse anyway. As Snyder alludes to, his movies have made a clear mark on the DC film world going forward. It's becoming clear that Warner Bros. And DC are taking an expansive multiverse approach to their films, as evidenced by Joker, Matt Reeves, The Batman, and the upcoming Ta-Nehisi Coates written Superman reboot. What is not yet obvious is how much of Snyder's DCEU will remain canon moving forward, especially in films like The Flash, which is set to include characters that Snyder originated on screen. Well, it's quite simple, to be honest with you. Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. And if we're lucky, Henry Cavill's Superman. But that's not a cert. You know, I think Henry Cavill's very upset with Warner Brothers and Warner Media. So he should be after the way he's been treated. Disgusting, but we will see. Reportedly, the Flash movie will be heavily inspired by the timeline-hopping DC Comics Flashpoint event, which has led some fans to believe the film will have major implications for the DC cinematic ventures moving forward. Theorists suggest The Flash could be used as a kind of soft reboot, yes, for DC films, allowing for characters from different universes to be brought into a main cinematic universe, yes, where the majority of DC films would then take place. This would allow Warner Bros. And DC to set a foundation they feel is solid enough to build upon. No matter what happens, DC fans will no doubt be excited to see how The Flash incorporates the version of Batman that Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder have brought to life. Listen to me. Flashpoint is being conceived by Jim Lee and Walter Hamada for many, many reasons. One is to burn down any connection to the Snyderverse. That's clear now. I wasn't saying that when I first heard this concept. I was excited that Zack could get something on HBO Max. That's clearly going to be a lot more difficult now after what Sarnoff said. So one, to burn down the Snyderverse and keep the elements that people like, or help, and basically Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa. Secondly, it's basically to break down the walls of the multiverse so you can include Grant Gustin's Flash and Stephen Amell's Arrow, even though he's dead in Arrowverse, and Tyler Hoechlin. Basically, anyone is going to be able to cross over anywhere. It's going to be a whole massive, huge, exciting shared universe. So that element I'm really, really excited about. I'm sad that we can't incorporate Zack's universe, the guy who started all of this. So the decision they're going to have to be made, what does Man of Steel mean to their new universe? What does Batman versus Superman, a film I think they will burn down and throw under the bus in the Flashpoint movie? Zack Snyder's Justice League means absolutely nothing to this central universe because basically Zack's made it clear that they made it clear to him that Justice League is going to be canon, which, you know, I mean, they mean this. They're doing this whether we like it or not. We can't stop the train they're going on. But this is why I talk about boycotts. It's still exciting, and I still want to embrace it. And I don't think boycotts will do anything. I think if there was like 10 million of us, or 20 million, or 30 million, then maybe, you know, boycotts would work. But I still wouldn't boycott DC properties. I'll be clear with you on that. But if you want to do that, that's entirely up to you. Everyone has a right to make their individual decision without being pressured by me or anyone else. But I'm excited about it. But I want you to know they're going to burn down the Snyderverse. They don't think it works. Even though Zack Snyder's Justice League worked for everyone, they don't believe going forward. They still think the stuff Snyder's going to do is going to polarize audiences. Here's the thing. As a business model, they don't see it working. Even in a corner, even if they burn his Snyderverse, they could have it in a corner on HBO Max, but they don't want to do that. So I don't think it's personal. I don't think it's because they don't like him. Basically, as Sarnoff says, she wants to cater to a variety of audiences. Why? Well, it makes common sense. She wants to cater to a variety of audiences because there's more money. She wants to do Super Pets because it caters to children, and she wants to cater to teenagers and adults and everyone. It makes business sense. She wants to do what Marvel are doing, which is basically driving everyone, all sorts of people, onto that franchise. The difference is she's talked about many voices running this. And basically, the MCU is run by one voice. That's the difference, Anne. The difference is that the MCU is run by a Marvel fan and a clever businessman and a genius. The DCEU is run by not very bright business people. I'm sorry. Because, Anne, if you were a very bright, intelligent woman, you wouldn't have done that interview, which was a marketing PR nightmare for you now. It wasn't very good. It hasn't worked. Yes, you've made your point abundantly clear, so you've succeeded there, but unfortunately you've burnt bridges. In life, never burn bridges. Just because you split up with a woman or a man, or you're not friends with someone, don't burn those bridges. You may need those people's support one day. We gave you amazing support, Anne. We launched HBO Max for you. We were sharing all your tweets and your social media vibes for HBO Max. Basically, your people at HBO Max said the announcement of the Snyder Cut was a success because of the success of HBO Max due to the green lighting of Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. And then you burnt us, Anne. You betrayed us. You used us, Anne. And that hurts. And I think you owe us a public apology. I love exposing bad people. Justice League has higher audience demand than Wonder Woman 1984, 3 days post-release. Well. And this, Ms. Sarnoff, is why your interview with Variety is a PR marketing nightmare, right? Your last film, right, that wasn't received very well and had mixed responses, didn't do as well as this film that you've just burnt and said you don't want any sequels, you don't want to continue it, you don't care about this franchise, you're done with us as a fan base. But basically this film this is the most successful DCEU film in all time. This is the best DCEU film of all time, but this is the most successful. Now we can't measure that properly because movie theatres are not open, but I believe this film would have hit about, I think this would have hit by its end of its run about a 2 billion. I think this would have been very, very successful. Now, it's difficult for a 4-hour movie, but I think the chapters and the intervals would have been a great event for people. It's only an hour longer than Avengers Endgame as well. So I think this film would have been kind of box office more successful. We know that this film has been more successful than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think this is the most successful streaming show on any platform of all time. Now, they're not saying that because Warner Media don't want us to know that because they want to burn their bridges with Zack and us. Zack Snyder's Justice League has a higher demand than Wonder Woman 1984, 3 days after its highly anticipated release on HBO Max by Graham Gutman of Screen Rant. Zack Snyder's Justice League is more popular than Wonder Woman 1984, 3 days after its release on HBO Max. Both DC films found themselves in unique positions when hitting the streamer over the last few months. Wonder Woman 1984 faced multiple delays on its way to theatres, and it became the first Warner Brothers film to hit HBO Max and theatres on the same day ahead of the rest of the studio's 2021 slate. Doing the same, by the way, Warner Media have signed an agreement with a couple of movie theatre companies. All their films in 2022 will be released in movie theatres first, and I think after a month and a half, they will be exclusively on HBO Max. So that's very good news if you're an HBO Max subscriber, and it's very good news if you're a Warner Media fan. I want to be a Warner Media fan. I just don't like the way they're treating us, the DC Snyderverse fandom. I think it's a low act. The controversial decision ignited backlash in the industry, but it seemed to pay off for the fledgling streaming service, pushing HBO Max past 40 million subscribers. Oh, it's paying off. And all that pushback they got is hypocritical now with what Disney are doing with Black Widow. Zack Snyder's Justice League has also been years in the making. What started as a fan campaign after the poor reception of the 2017 theatrical version turned into a reality when Warner Brothers announced in May of 2020 that Snyder would be able to complete his original vision. The Snyder Cut finally hit HBO Max last week, and the reception to the 4-hour cut was leagues better than the critical response to Joss Whedon's version. And by the way, it goes beyond comparing it to the theatrical version. This is one of the best films I've ever seen. That response has translated to massive success for Zack Snyder's Justice League with TV Time, reporting that the Snyder Cut was the most watched movie its weekend of release. They also shared that it's tracking 35% higher than Wonder Woman 84, 3 days post-release in terms of audience demand. The Snyder Cut is also tracking higher than both Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, 2 high-profile releases set to hit HBO Max in the coming weeks. I love exposing bad people with bad takes. This article had to be read to you, and I haven't read it prior. I never read these articles prior, mostly, but this is beautiful. Let's repeat these beautiful words. This is hilarious. The Snyder Cut is also tracking higher than both Godzilla vs. Kong and Mortal Kombat, 2 high-profile releases set to hit HBO Max in the coming weeks. Well, and you, my friend, do not want to make money, do you? You're a bad business person. You should be fired. Zack Snyder's Justice League seems to be blowing expectations out of the water. Not only are long-time fans of the DCEU checking out the film, but it seems to have massive crossover appeal thanks to the hype surrounding the unprecedented release. Critically speaking, Zack Snyder's Justice League and Wonder Woman 1984 aren't that far apart. No, don't you dare. Far apart, sitting at 73% and 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, respectively. I think 73% is a lot higher than 59%. But wait a minute. No. Let's not do this percentage-wise. The truth is, the high proportion of critics like this film, right? And if the others didn't have such a hatred for Snyder and the way he makes films, and for us, the fans, they would have admitted they liked the film. This is a major success. And also, you've got to look at the kind of people who loved it, who loved the film, the variety The Variety review was beautiful. The RogerEbert.com review was beautiful. These are two entities that didn't particularly like Wonder Woman 84. That's the difference, you see. Exposing bad people is what I do, respectively. But their releases are vastly different, and so too is the sentiment behind them. Exactly. Zack Snyder's Justice League has begun touted as an event since its announcement. It represents an unprecedented reversal for a major studio, one of their prized tentpoles. Director's cuts aren't unique to the industry, but the Snyder Cut gained mythological status both because of the narrative within the film and the one happening behind the scenes. Wonder Woman 84, on the other hand, represented the beginning of a different kind of experiment. While its success shouldn't be downplayed, it's also difficult to truly compare the two, as they represent vastly different things for the fans that have stuck by the DCEU through thick and thin. Let me be honest with you about Wonder Woman 84. Let me implore this because I don't want to be toxic. I like Wonder Woman 84. I believe in the narrative that Patty put towards that movie. I don't have a problem with it. I do have an issue with the sword and the shield going, but it doesn't make me say, right, that's a deal breaker, not interested. She wanted to do Wonder Woman the Pacifist, and that's absolutely fine. And Zack does Wonder Woman differently. Again, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind Wonder Woman 84. But I'm sorry, the enjoyment I got from Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is a lot higher than Wonder Woman 84. And Wonder Woman 84 does have problems with its plot. I'm sorry, it's problematic in places. Now, I can overlook those things and say, yeah, it's a good entry to the DCEU. I'm fine with it. But the truth is, if those flaws weren't there, that movie would have been a lot more successful. It jumped away from Zack's vision purposely because Patty didn't like that. And also, I think she compromised with Warner Brothers to get away from Snyder's vision as well, writing it with Jeff Johns, the very man who took down Zack Snyder's vision. We mustn't forget that. Basically, it's a great comparison, but the bigger comparison is that this is the most successful, amazing DCEU movie ever. It's the most successful, believe you me. Now, I keep on saying it's the best because I shouldn't really be saying this because I still love Man of Steel and I still love BVS. I think this trilogy is equally as awesome. But in terms of success, Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is the most successful DCEU film ever. But I'm going to go one bigger with you. And we can't measure it because the theatre's being shut mostly. I believe the Zack Snyder's Justice League is the most successful, not only DC film, but the most successful comic book movie. Again, we can't measure it. Now, in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, MCU fans can argue something else, but that doesn't really matter. It's about viewer engagement. And I have never seen so many people change their minds about a director ever. Not just the director, but his previous two movies after they've seen this. Something I hoped and predicted might happen. And so that's why I believe Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut is the most successful comic book movie of all time. Now, I can't prove that, right? And I understand that. But I think this is a massive exposure of Ann Sarnoff, her interview, and Warner Media's narrative. You are saying, let me say that again. You are saying no to more of that, the most successful comic book movie of all time. You are saying no to money because you have a personal hatred towards the fans, and I don't know. I don't think you hate Zack Snyder. I think you've got a good relationship with him. You just think that he polarizes audiences and you just don't want to push audiences away. You want to bring them towards you. As a business, I understand that. But give him his own little corner on HBO Max. He wouldn't have been hurting anyone. He would have made you money. He's a good guy. He's an artist. And your attitude is very, very difficult for me to accept. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to attack you, Anne and Warner Media. I'm going to give you a challenge. I am going to convince you, and my friends and my fellow Snyderverse fandom are going to convince you that you are wrong. So we're not going to attack you. We're not going to be toxic. We're not going to bully you. We're just going to have a conversation over on social media, especially Twitter, and prove to you that you are wrong. So everyone, keep on streaming Zack Snyder's Justice League because it's an amazing film. We can restore the Snyderverse. They've said no right now, but it's not an indefinite no. Comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. I really enjoyed today's episode, by the way. See you again soon.